Welcome to Tansson TV Plus. Of course, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Mom.
Yes, and thank you so much for joining us here today. And Mom, I hope that you're doing well.
I am doing fine today, Brandon. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And Mom, what show are we speaking about here today for this February?
Yes, we're going to talk about the show Watson.
Yes, this is a new show airing currently on CBS, and it debuted with a pilot episode January 26, 2025.
Yes. And today, and just to let you all know, Watson is a mystery medical drama. So something a little, I should say, just a tiny bit different for us. And I'm going to give you some of the top things that I actually learned from watching the first episode. All right, Brandon? All right, so let's see. First of all, Watson is a doctor, and he actually saw his good friend, whose name happened to be Sherlock, be murdered. While Watson was also injured in the process of helping his friend. His friend actually kind of was shot and then fell into water. Watson actually had to recover from his injuries. And then while he was in recovery, he learned from another friend who was there, or an acquaintance who was there, whose name was Shinwell Johnson. But he learned that he actually inherited a medical practice from Sherlock. And so these events took place overseas. And so he comes back to the States, and Watson actually joins this particular clinic and serves as a doctor, where he investigates mystery diseases per se, or mystery illnesses, so whichever one kind of pops up. And then through his friend Watson, through his friend Shinwell Johnson, we learned that the gentleman who they believe actually murdered Sherlock, his name was Mr. Moriarty. And so at the end of this particular episode, or the first episode, Shinwell actually meets Mr. Moriarty and gives him a suitcase, which we assume has money, at the end of the series, at the end of that particular episode. And so, which kind of makes the viewers wonder what Shinwell is really doing. Is he a friend or foe to Watson? And so that is what I've learned from the first episode of Watson. Brandon, did you learn anything else?
No, I mean, I thought it was really interesting. I mean, going through the episode, and of course, we learned a bit as to Watson's personal life, such as with his ex-wife and those within his clinic, which he inherited from Sherlock Holmes' will.
Yes, yes, yes. We do learn that his wife does practice in this particular clinic that he's at, or I should say, his ex-wife does practice in this clinic that he's at. And they do spend a lot of time talking about the doctors or yeah, the other doctors who do work at this particular practice, and how they actually came to be people who are working at this practice. And so it'll be interesting to see later how they kind of blend all of this together.
Yeah, and some of the people that they mentioned, for instance, you have the twins, Stevens and Adam, but then you have, yeah, Dr. Darian, and some other people. And so it's interesting sort of seeing the different people, and as you mentioned before, wondering how they will sort of play into the future of the show. Will they have a big role, or will they just be some of the back people in the lab? I feel like the ex-wife's definitely going to have some sort of role. I think they've given her enough storyline, but as for the others, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how they kind of weave all of this together. And then and this particular show kind of has two mysteries. We have the mystery of the patients, of course, and whatever disease or illness that they have, and how Watson tries to figure out um, what this particular person has, and all the investigating he has to do in order to do that. But then we have a mystery overall in regards to Sherlock Holmes, and I guess for us, the reason why he was murdered, because I don't think we don't know this at this point. We don't know how this other gentleman kind of fits in with it. Actually, Shinwell or this Mr. Moriarty, and the reason why. So we have two mysteries that are kind of going on. Of course, the patient mystery kind of changes each week.
Yeah. To the way that I interpreted what they had said, though, is that Dr. Moriarty was the big bad guy that Watson and Sherlock Holmes have been going after, and then I guess somehow Dr. Moriarty and Sherlock Holmes were thought to have passed away at some point in the midst of the, I guess, falling off the river. Um, and Watson attempted to save Sherlock Holmes to no avail. At least that's what I've interpreted, but this is several months later. And what I found a little bit intriguing is for Shinwell Johnson, who is said to, I guess, have worked with Sherlock Holmes and Watson, is the fact that Watson doesn't fully remember him, per se. Like, he does, but he doesn't at the same time. And so it makes me wonder, sort of, how much was he really working with them at first? Was he someone that was just sort of there, or was he active member? I don't know.
Yeah, I know. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with these characters throughout the series.
Yeah, and what were your thoughts about the overall reveal that Dr. Moriarty is still alive?
It didn't really surprise me per se, but I like the way they linked everything at the end for this first episode, or at least for the viewer to watch. I like the way they kind of built up the intrigue with it.
Yeah, to me, I always felt that he would be around just because I feel like they name dropped him a few times, and that didn't seem. I don't know, but I've also noticed that I feel that some of these CBS dramas have definitely been leading up to these big mysteries. Like I think about we have Matlock now on the schedule and Elsbeth, and so I mean this airs on a different day than both of them, but to me it's sort of always a part of that same general season of intrigue.
Yeah, it seems to be the theme this year because we have some other shows that were kind of doing that alludes to about the same type of thing where there's another mystery involved that involves the main characters, not just the subplots, and not just the weekly drama that occurs.
Yeah, and circling back to Dr. Moriarty, I will say I do like Randall Park in the role because I think I'm excited to see a little bit as to his spin on it, and hopefully we do get to see him more of the season.
Yes, yes, it'll be that will be interesting, and I hope we do also.
Yeah, and I will note too. I don't know if you caught it, but the show, I guess, because it was leading up to big surprise. I guess spoiler alert for anyone who's watching. But um, what I found was interesting is that after they revealed him, is that they credited yeah, the actor afterwards as special guest star.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We talked about that a little bit when we were watching it. So you're right. That was very clever, and we had another show that kind of did that too this season. That they kind of left out one of the main stars and then brought it in at the end.
And mom, is there anything thus far that you wanted to speak about for the show?
No, well, first of all, Brandon, will you continue watching it?
I think I will. I mean, I definitely enjoyed the first episode. Now, I will say, not to take away from the show, but I will say that this year, I mean, we're not typically drama people, but I would say this year we've had quite a bit of handful of dramas that we've actually liked and have continued watching, whether it's from the first episode or otherwise, like from Matlock to High Potential, Elsbeth. I'm sure there's some others I'm forgetting. Brilliant Minds. I mean, there were so many amazing shows, and so I mean, I think this one was pretty good, but I don't know if I would put it with the excellent category, so to speak, of the others. But I still think it's good.
Yeah, actually, same here, Brandon. Because I was trying to decide what kind of rating I wanted to give it because we've been trying to do the ratings of 1 through 5, 5 being the highest. And I actually gave this one a 4 because it actually had enough intrigue for me to make me continue watching it. And so I'll continue watching it throughout the season because I'd like to see how it kind of ends.
Yeah, and I'm gonna surprise you. And I'm going to go with a 3.5.
Oh, 3.5. Oh, why? You're going lower. Why are you going lower, Brand?
I mean, more so in the sense of yeah. I mean, as a instructor, I always feel like I need to use sort of that grading system. But I mean, but I thought it was good and fine. It's just more so that some of the other shows that we've seen just have such a high bar that I
Yeah.
think for me this is in a season of things that have such a high bar of excellent, I feel like this one's just all right, but it's still good in its own right.
Yeah, I'll agree with that too, Brandon. I'll stick with my four, but I agree and understand with what you're saying.
But yeah, and I will say, as a quick side note, I've never read it by any means, but I know of it. Surprisingly, out of the many mystery things that I know, is that portions of this episode actually sort of reflect the short story called "The Final Problem" that was about the death of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, okay. I'm an avid reader, but I have not read any of the Sherlock Holmes books, and so I knew, of course, that with names, of course, that they were correlating, um, but I have not read any of them, so I can't speak to, you know, that in itself. But I'm glad to know that it's actually correlated to directly at least one of the stories.
Yeah, and like I said, I've never read it directly, but I had heard about it in doing some research a long time ago. But in it, to the best of my knowledge, is there is the death of Sherlock Holmes because the author had wanted to be done with the character Sherlock Holmes forever, so he just decided to get rid of him, and it was in part with a Professor Moriarty.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Maybe I'll have to look at that. Is it a short story or is it a true novel?
I think it's a short story, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, I might have to look it up and take a look.
But yeah, but Mom, is there anything else that you want to mention for the show? And would you continue watching?
Yep, I will continue watching Brandon because, like I said, I kind of like to see the ending. And I know some of our other shows that we watch, we have discovered have had series endings or series finales so far. So this could take the place of one of them.
Yeah. Oh, and I will note too something I thought was a little interesting because I'm not sure where they're going with this, but it seems that the twins Stevens and Adam are played by the same actor.
Yeah, I found that really odd. But yes, and I do know that a lot of times that they do have twins played by the same person. But I'm just wondering why they didn't find a set of twins in general to play this particular character. Um, so yeah, it just seems like double the footage that they have to do. But but yeah, so we'll just see where that they go with that. And now in of course, I didn't know that until after the first episode. We watched the first episode, so when I watch the next episode next week, I'll have to see check that out.
Yeah, and the only reason I had even looked it up was simply because there was a shot where I was trying to see both the twins because they had made a couple remarks about how they were very similar. So I wanted to sort of see them, but I'd only saw one of them. So I tried to figure out, okay, well, is there a picture of these twins? It's like, oh, it's the same person.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I'm gonna have to check it out next week.
But yeah, but Mom, are you ready to go ahead and end this one out?
We can end this out, Brandon. So we thank everybody for watching us today. Let us know your thoughts about Watson. Is this a show that you'll continue watching?
Yeah, definitely let us know.
All right, everybody, have a great day.
And we'll see you next time.
All right, bye bye.